Hey everybody, Sidney Poitier passed away today, and I was going to make a video about it, but I thought
in '67 he reached Hollywood's
passed away today,
top-earning leading man.
I was going to make a video about it,
Righteous enough to slap in return the white politician who slapped
I decided to make this live stream because
guess who's coming to dinner is Dr. John Prentice, half of an interracial couple.
the man they're talking about is
I
decided to make this live stream. My favorite actor, and from the same generation as my mom, who's here with me. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what Sidney Poitier meant to everybody with my mom. I'm not going to put her on camera because she doesn't want to be on camera, but I got her voice. But this is the magic of technology. So I'll turn this down just a little bit because it's a nice backdrop.
Images of a man after a principle. No surprise, he was playing with Delta.
Yep, and he got the Medal of Freedom. I think for me, and what we're doing, if you're wondering, is we've got YouTube at the background playing because it's kind of hard to find the news program. But I'll turn this on just a little bit. There. Say, Mom, what do you think of? When you think of Sidney Poitier, what do you think of?
I think of one of the best looking gentlemen I've ever seen. That's what I think of right away. But he was cultured, educated, debonair, anything you could think that you wanted in a man. And really, his philosophy on being black in this country was right on. And I think even today that works for any black person. Because he said to his father that day that he thought of himself as a man, not a black man. That's been my philosophy all my life.
And when I think of him, I call you all the greatest generation. And I say that because you all were the first to work in reservation sales, United, and the first to be in movies. And I call you all the greatest generation because it's true. I mean, not only were the first, but the first to be in movies, and you went through the craziness of racism in a way where the other greatest generation didn't. Some people refer to the greatest generation as those who fought in World War II, but remember, there were African Americans like my stepfather, Chester, or my father, who both passed, who also fought in the war and served, and then had to come back and deal with being black in America, right? And
yeah, but I will agree with you about Sidney. Sidney came along with, like your father, for example, your stepfather, for example. Their view of America was they were men, and all the problems that came along with being a man in America, whether black, white, or blue, these are the things that they faced, and they faced making themselves what they needed to be. They knew what they needed to do, and they did it. And if you go back and look at it, they worked hard. They actually psychoanalyzed the people that were trying to put them under, and found out in a lot of cases that they were much smarter, so they could work it out. To me, that's life now. You don't really dwell on racism. They did not dwell on racism. They figured a way out of it. Period. That's what a man does. And that's one of the reasons Everybody loved him. And of course, his smile and dimples didn't really mess up anything.
When I think of him, I think of dignity. I think
Yeah.
of I think of a time when, and that was our time. You didn't like you'd never let me go out and dress as a kid the way they dress now. I think of a time when
You know, you had principles, rules,
yeah,
all of the things that make
you
you
never let me go out and dress as a kid.
that make you a man, that make you a good human being. You know, that's what you work on. Even today, if you know what makes you a good human being, then that works. Just like we talk about how to win friends and influence people. That's what Sidney had. And then, of course, when he tried tried out for this movie and they threw him out, all the things that they criticized him of, he totally got rid of it, improved it, and went back again. You don't stop. You just keep right on pushing. And those kind of things work for you. They work for you today, and they will work for you all through your life.
And you said he was I remember that he was the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. He came to Oakland because my mom worked as a volunteer for the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame, Oakland, a number of years during the 70s. And what do you remember about that? I remember some things.
Volunteering for that because I had no idea at that time in the 70s that blacks were having such a hard time getting into the movies. I really feel that the movie industry decided we don't want any more Sidney Poitiers. So they made it extremely hard for black actors. They gave black actors roles that they shouldn't have had, and then of course there was an element that tried to make the black actors do acting gigs that made the black people look bad. I don't understand that. I never have. But you have to work on it because, they had a stigma on blacks that, they were crime ridden and they lived in bad neighborhoods and that they wouldn't work and that they, and of course a lot of our actors took those roles, even though Sidney Poitier did not. I mean, he certainly had his choice of what he was going to do with his life, and I really admire him. I'm sorry he's gone. We all looked up to him, and it's something that he lived through his life, and we never saw his headlines sprawled across the newspapers with some kind of crime or some kind of problem with his wife or girlfriend or whatever. Just a wonderful man. Sorry he's gone.
I think for me also, my one of my favorite films of all time was, as you know, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And because I think for me also, I don't have to say, I think it was like okay for me to be me. And it was like okay, but it did. Guess Who's Coming to Give Dinner? Lilies of the Field, The Defiant Ones. All of his movies, he always played a strong, intelligent African American man. And at a time when you didn't see those roles a lot at all, but he was always ramrod straight and always insisted on being just that. And how remarkable for him to live his life as his movies. In other words, some actors today play a role regardless of color, but it's entirely different from their life where you wouldn't want to copy them. You wanted to copy Sidney. You wanted to copy his dress, his mannerisms, his posture. His being a gentleman, and he set the path for us. He's a fighter. He set the path for us, and that he could stand in a room, and it didn't matter if he was the only black person or among a room full of us, he was himself. He didn't have to change. He didn't have to be one. And that's, I think, something to be said for the greatest generation, because, you know, I realized something, Mom. I don't know of a time when you acted different among anybody. You were always yourself. You always are yourself, right? Whereas some of us feel like they have to be different people, and there's a different language. And I say that because my mom, who worked for United for 30 years, would sometimes be mistaken for somebody by down the phone, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There shouldn't be anything wrong with it. But to this day, there's some people who think there is. It simply meant, and the reason why I push this is that you're born in America, you're part of America. Sure, you should know the language and the English and the cultures. It's your country. With the, you know,
you're born in America, you're part of America. Sure, you should know the language and English and the cultures. It's your country. What color are you? You know, they would ask. I guess they couldn't really distinguish. I mean, they were worrying about what color I was, or what was I, black or white, and I would always say to them, I'm the color of your coffee with a lot of cream.
Yeah, and that, you saying that reminds me of Diane Carroll and her TV show. And I think that, I guess that's why I cried, because there's a book in me somewhere. Because I think it's amazing to be able to have grown up during this time. Because I think it's amazing to be able to, and I don't think it's appreciated. Have grown up during this time. I mean by our, in general.
Right.
You know,
you have to always appreciate yourself.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
so
definitely.
That'll take all that. I don't care. Those are the things that I just don't worry about. Whether you appreciate me or not. But you're going to find people in your family that don't appreciate you. Sometimes people don't know who you are, who you think you are. But for some reason, I guess my arrogance does not make me feel bad about it. I appreciate myself. I know who I am. Whatever I've done, the good Lord said that He would forgive you. And so you keep that in mind, and you don't get yourself burdened down with different things. What people think of you is their problem, not yours. And especially if you figure a way around it, because basically you want to exist, you want to thrive, and if you let that kind of thing bother you, then you would not. That's what Sidney Poitier did not do. He just kept right on working and improving it, finding a way around it. If you read all the things about Obama, he did the same thing. So you take a pattern after these great people that you admire and take your life and work on it at that point. You know, I will sit here and say that I'm very proud of you as my son and as a person. So these are the things you work on. God put us all here for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And if you figured out your purpose, you are lucky and work on it.
Yeah, that's the best way that I can think about it. It's, and then for me also, when I think of Sidney Poitier, I think about something you were saying about. Well, I think it's okay. I think the message to me has always been you're expected to be confident. You were talking about what it means to be a man, and Sidney wasn't afraid to be a man. Had a challenge, and they had met the challenge head on. He did, and they adjusted. And of course, it's tough. And I think about people today that I know who are still alive, who I need to call. And of course, it's tough. I was thinking about one of Sidney Poitier's roles where he said, "They call me Mr. Tibbs," and I was thinking about my former boss, Robert Bob, because they always called him Mr. Bob. I remember Jeanette used to call him Mr. Bob. That was my first introduction to Robert Bob. It wasn't, "Hey, this is Robert." It was, "This is Mr. Bob." Mr. Bob, Mr. Bob. Everyone called him Mr. Even people who formerly worked for him called Robert Mr. Bob. They called him that so much that I felt like I would probably get a hand grenade from some unseen force if I didn't say Mr. Bob. Just kidding. He's a friend of this day. And when I think of Sidney Poitier, and I think of Robert Bob. I think of my late father and how he tried to navigate these waters, and he did the best he could. And I think about what I need to do to navigate. And Sidney is always an inspiration, and I didn't realize that until I found out that he passed. It was kind of like this mountain that's there. That's your sort of established as your touchstone, you know. And yeah, he's ascended to heaven. That's how I have to look at it. So anyway, thanks. So folks, I'll come back with more later because, well, I'm gonna put this to bed and let this go out. If you have any comments, please put them in the comment section, or send an email. You know, if you have an email, if you want to write something longer, we can write that in the comment section too. But if you want to send an email on this occasion, here is the email that I commonly use for these occasions, and it's right here. That's that. Okay. So look forward to your thoughts, and right here. That's that. Okay. And yeah, my guess who's coming to dinner has told me it was okay to date interracially as a youngster. Because I remember Mom said something. Because look, let me put it this way. I had the privilege of growing up flying United Airlines during the jet age. In first class. I mean, who has that stress? I'm saying I have to write a book. You know, Mom, that's the missing part of my life I haven't done yet. I have had an extraordinary life. And Mom said to me, you know, you're going to marry a white girl because you're only used to white women being nice to you because you're in first class with stewardesses. I remember you said that in 1972. I marked the time. Of course, dated a lot of women who were white. Had a lot of friends who are white. Have a lot of friends who are white. Haven't gotten married yet because things just don't work out. But I didn't set out to, you know. You marry the people who like you, and that's regardless of color. And so that's who love you. That's regardless of color, and that's really how that happened. It wasn't a matter of selection. Okay, it was a matter of, to be candid, growing up and being made fun of for doing what Sidney Poitier did, which is, you know, he used the Queen's English. And I remember, my mom says I shouldn't dwell on it. I'm not dwelling on it, but what I'm trying to explain is that through this life, right, but some of us, my point is that Sidney Poitier was always the marker that, hey, look at Sidney, look at Barack, look at, right, and who I met, by the way, who actually came, that's another story I'll tell you, actually somebody flew in to talk to me about social media that I was doing. So anyway, my point is that Sidney Poitier was a North Star for me, and always will be. And my mom is a North Star for me, always will be, always has been. So they are part of the greatest generation and should be honored. My mom, my late godmother, Janet Estelle, Jeannie, so many people that I'm blessed to have known and grown up with. I think of Uncle Carl. So Uncle Carl was dressed. He dressed neater than Sidney. Yeah, they did. It was Arnold. Arnold Grant, my current stepfather. And a lot of great people, a lot of great African American role models. I even think of Paul Cobb, who I'm supposed to call, and who knew Martin Luther King. We had a great interview, 2007. So anyway, I can go on and on and on, but there are things to do. Oh, thank you, Mom. My mom says I'm great myself. I have a lot to live up to. And I'm 59, so time is running out. My mom says, "Don't say that." I don't know. That's how I feel. I mean, I feel like I have a.
Say how you feel. Remember that.
Well, I do. It's that age, and I think it's okay to say, "Hey, I'm a little off my schedule, my own personal schedule, but not by much." So, and that's okay. I'm cool with that, as they say. So, yeah. Hey, subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. And as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'll be back. Thanks, Mom. Love you. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com.